Welcome back to Facts and Fictions, the Cozy Book Club podcast where we talk about the books we're reading and the thoughts we're having on them. My name's Morgan.
My name is Desiree, and today we're talking about Crux by Gabriel Tallent. In the author's words, this book is about two down-and-out kids. One of them is good at school and is the American golden child, and one of them is a mouthy, burnout lesbian who everyone hates because she won't stop talking about her periods. At night, they escape their houses and they run into the desert to go climb shitty sandbag boulders in an obscure parking lot together, spotting each other and lighting the climbs with flashlights and joking and talking about life. So the book's a little bit about having passion and something you want to pursue as a young person, but being a little too down and out to really pursue it safely. Morgan, how did you feel about this book?
I have mixed feelings about it. I am not well-versed in climbing at all, and I feel like to get a lot out of it, you have to be immersed in that world, just with like how descriptive it is with lingo that I don't quite understand. I'm sure climbers are all for it, but I was left a little bit confused, and it's story a little bit.
I completely agree. I honestly, throughout the entirety of the book, never felt in the story.
I was having a lot of trouble grasping what was happening. I almost feel like if he wrote it in simpler terms, I take some of the beauty out of the writing, but I could have understood what was happening on the climbs a little bit better. At first, I was trying to Google what different things meant, and then I gave up on that. And I stopped doing that, and I just kind of went with the flow. So I'm not going to quite understand what's happening, and that's okay.
I was looking through the outline that you had put together and ended up reading an article that you had mentioned about Gabriel saying that the book is not a very climbing book.
I was surprised to see that because from my perspective, it was prohibitively a climbing book.
Absolutely. For him to describe it that way is hilarious.
I would love to see what a climbing book is.
I feel because it was so descriptive and referenced so many slang words for the climbing world, I definitely felt like it took me out of the story.
I feel like I would have loved it if I were a climber and I could understand exactly what's happening. And if you haven't read the book, it's just very descriptive, where I almost found myself zoning out a little bit through the descriptions, which usually I'm not like that. I just found it a little difficult to understand, so my mind just numbed it out.
I definitely felt myself skimming through the book as well. I also supplemented my reading with an audio, which I didn't love the audio at all.
I read the book about a month ago, so then getting ready for the episode, I listened to the audiobook as well. And I think I've listened to a few by that narrator, and it's just not my cup of tea, just the voices, and I'm very picky with my audiobooks.
I didn't recognize the narrator's voice. Do you remember what other books that they narrated?
Ones I would not finish because they weren't for book club.
That's one thing for me is if this wasn't a pick for our book club, I'm not a huge DNFer, but I do think I would have DNF'd this book.
I am the same. I read it before you, and so I was like, well, maybe this is going to be like Desiree's read of the year, so I don't want to take that away from her and not do it. So,
and I will say the author's writing is very beautiful. He has great prose. It's just the climbing of it all, and it really just didn't resonate with me when it came to the characters, to the subject matter of climbing. It just didn't.
And that actually kind of frustrated me that he is such a gifted, talented writer. I want to enjoy this because I can tell there's so much skill behind it. It's just not every book's going to be for every person.
Yeah.
This one is not for me.
Yeah.
I'm reading the reviews, so there are the two main characters, Dan and Tamma. People are obsessed with Tamma.
Really?
I see there's a lot of merit in her character, but it's like she's not a character I fell in love with. But people in the reviews, they fell in love with Tamma, which I love that for them. But I was a little surprised because she comes off so crass and gruff and rough around the edges, which isn't, I guess, a characterization I read about very often. She was definitely a one-of-a-kind character as far as the books I've read.
And well-developed.
She was well-developed. So,
one thing about this book is it is written by a man, which we don't read a ton of books written by men. Mm-hmm. Not for any specific reason. I think we just have our tastes. Did that have any part of your feelings towards the book?
Reading Tamma's characterization, she is a very sexed out character. She's got sex on the brain. Even though multiple times in the book, she is a virgin, but she's always talking about sex, sexual things. I don't love reading that from a man. I would prefer those characters be written by young, people who are more aligned with the character they're writing. So I don't mind people writing sexed out characters. If I don't know how to expand on this idea. I got a little bit of the ick.
Yes.
There's no profound way for me to say that, but I was getting the ick a little bit.
I think we knew it was a man who wrote the book, but I think even if we didn't, reading the book, we would know that that character was developed and written out by a man.
I think so too. She was just very vulgar, just very sexed out.
And there's a lot of crudeness in the writing as well. The Finger Bang Princess, having to read that a million times.
That was the name of climb they were constantly trying to conquer, was Finger Bang Princess.
Could have gone without that, personally.
The school counselor's side. Let's change the name to Girl Power.
Oh, gosh.
The big premise of the story is like these are just down and out kids who have this passion for climbing and they just don't have the resources. So they put themselves in very dangerous situations. Like we find out from the beginning, they're wearing shoes out of the dumpster. Dan's are stained with somebody else's blood. I envy like that level of passion, to be honest. I don't think I've ever been so passionate about anything, which I do think it's kind of fun to read about people who are so focused and so passionate about anything, even if it's not something I can really relate to, like climbing. It's trying to think anything that I feel even half as passionate about, but I'm like, I'm not risking my life for any of my passions.
No, certainly not to climb a mountain.
I love the outdoors and adventurous things, but with a certain level of safety. So it is kind of interesting just reading about characters who have that level of drive for one specific goal. And then with Dan and Tamma, they're best friends, and we find out pretty early on that way back in the day, their moms were best friends as well, and had like this huge falling out. And overall, just like the characterizations of both Dan and Tamma. Dan is a golden child, good student. He's like on his way to like college. And Tamma, we've already discussed her, but she's like a burnout is how she's described several times. They seem like a very unlikely set of friends. Were you like, surprised by their friendship? It's like them against the world. It felt.
I think definitely surprising. However, in my real life, I feel like it's funny because I know strong, successful people who actually seem to always tend to have friends that need help, that maybe need a little support and fixing. And that's kind of a pattern that I have seen in some people that I know. So interesting pairing, but realistic, I think.
There's like a strong juxtaposition, and I had visualizations of each of them in my head, and I could draw comparisons to real people in my life. And in my head, the real people I was comparing them to, I couldn't see them as friends, but I don't know, it's just, I like the juxtaposition with them because they just seem like the most unlikely pair, especially layered on top of their moms hating each other.
And I felt the relationships between Emma and Dan and their moms were really well done and really realistic on that end too. The fact that Dan's mom is dealing with severe depression and a failing heart, and then Tamma's mom being unsupportive and not really a mother figure to her.
And I feel like having that shared experience between them where they don't have the connection they want from their moms probably definitely also drew them together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a hard part to read. And with like, Gabriel Tallent's skilled descriptions, you do get sad reading about those relationships because these characters are in high school, they're young. It's just like they need better parental. I guess Dan had a good dad, but bad.
Lots of complexities and just he really developed the characters in the world well.
Families. There's a big side plot with Tamma's sister Sierra. She's got a newborn baby named River, who her baby daddy, I don't know if they were engaged, married, but the baby daddy drops the baby and he gets a catastrophic head injury. So Tamma has to step up and basically serve like that daddy role because the dad walks out after that. And it's a 17-year-old girl having to like take on an entire world of responsibility. It's caring for 3 kids. One of them now is disabled with his head injury. And I feel like that's the plot that made people fall in love with Tamma because she did not have to do that. She's a teenage kid. That's way too much responsibility, but she rose to the occasion. That part actually did pull at my heartstrings quite a bit. Just trying to put myself at 17 in her shoes. Would I have been equipped to do that? I would have wanted to. I don't think I would have emotionally done a good job. I feel like I would have definitely victimized myself in that situation because that's just who I was at 17. So it was cool to see Tamma step up. But again, it's just like another layer of sadness onto her story. She should have never been in that position.
Exactly. She's knocked down a rung again,
She is like embodiment of resilience. She's what she needs to do in every aspect of her life. And when she starts taking care of the kids, now she's got a lot less time to climb. And she's making these great sacrifices, getting up the crack of dawn to go climb after like 4 hours of sleep. So I think her passion and her resilience, those are like two of her defining characteristics. So I guess now as I'm talking this through, I can see more so why people fell in love with her character, even if I don't quite relate.
Yeah, I think so. I think there is a lot for people to resonate with.
So I get it now. I know. It's just like,
that's great, having a conversation.
talking it through.
Because you read it a month ago, and then I read about half of it, and then I took 2 weeks off from reading it, and then I dove back in. So as we're talking, I'm also remembering.
So I don't have a sister, but with like Tamma and Sierra's relationship, I was like, I feel like that's something you could probably speak on a little bit. Putting yourself in either of their shoes. Would you be able to show up for Brittany that way? / would Brittany be able to show up for you?
Oh gosh, that's great.
Put you on the spot.
That's
How
very
much do you
deep.
actually love yourself?
Oh gosh, I think that's something that I hope that my sister's never in the position like that, but I would envision myself moving priorities around and helping her, and I think that would be reciprocal from her. My sister and I are pretty close. She lived with me for a couple years, and there is nothing like a sister relationship. So while I was surprised that Tamma, with everything she had going on, did step up for her sister, I also really wasn't that surprised, because there is that underlying responsibility that you feel like you have to your sister. I really feel like sister, but it's a sibling thing. I think you could totally apply that to your relationship with your brother. You would absolutely.
And honestly, I feel like that's more loyalty towards my nephew than my brother. But I do feel loyalty towards him. But if he were in that position, I'd be like, yeah, come with me, baby.
Her sister's going through a lot and can barely get through her day to day, but hopefully that's something that if Tamma needs reciprocated. That's one thing that can't be overstated is the importance of having a net of people around you in times of need.
Yeah, it's like that metaphorical village.
Yeah.
You always hear people talk about. And Sierra was very lucky to have Tamma, because it seems like she's the only person in her village, not even like her own mother. Kendra was the villain in the story. There were a lot of villains, but Kendra was the villain.
I think that's another reason why I really wasn't enjoying my read of this book, is I really don't enjoy reading about bad moms. Is there something about it? I don't know. Triggers me.
On the opposite end of bad mom spectrum, we meet foil to Tamma's character, Paisley, who is also shares that same passion of climbing, except she grew up very privileged with wonderful parents who love her so much. Her dad's a dentist, so they make a lot of money. She's got top of the line everything, and is training safely in a gym. And at first, when she's introduced, I thought she was going to be the villain, because she's just like teased. Tamma's like watching her on social media, and she's like, just everything she touches turns to gold, because she's just that privileged. So it's like, oh, we're going to hate this character. That is not what happened, which was a very pleasant surprise. Did you think she was going to be a villain? Or
Definitely. I feel like that was what we were getting set up.
I actually did love that plot twist, that she was so sweet, so excited, so supportive, and like, so impressed with Tamma. Even at the first, like reading their first introduction, I'm reading her part in sarcastic tone, because that's who I invented her to be in my mind. And I'm like, what does that say about me? Because at first I thought she was not being genuine. I thought it was like a very sarcastic overtone to their interaction. Then we find out she really is just a spray of sunshine, which I really enjoyed.
I feel like I did the same thing, and I wonder if that was intentional to make it that way. I feel like sometimes I go through that in real life.
You read the situation wrong, or like put your own. So as we're talking through our criticisms of the story, it is not a criticism of like Gabriel Tallent, because I do think it's a really well done book for the right person. I just wasn't the right person.
And I just don't, I think my brain wasn't in it at the time I was reading it. I could see myself reading this down the line and maybe having a different experience. For some reason, it just wasn't resonating with me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But like, there are parts like that where I'm like, okay, that was impressive, because I feel like somehow he got into my brain to make me think we weren't gonna like Paisley without actually saying that. There's no indication that she's gonna be a villain, and it was just something I decided early on. So it's kind of fun that she wasn't. And then let me read this real quick. So with the relationship between Tamma and Paisley, I was trying to like draw parallels between the relationships between Kendra and Alexandra, because we do find out that their big falling out happened because Alexandra got a book deal when she was still a teenager. I think she was 19, and it was wildly successful. She made a ton of money. She got to travel. She got a lot of attention from it. And then Kendra at one point says, well, I could have been a writer too. I was given the chance. And when you're comparing that to Tamma and Paisley's situation, Tamma was never given any chance in her life, and she was still able to claw to success. Like, she beat out Paisley. She got farther than she did, even though she didn't win. She still got farther than Paisley, who was given every single chance and is still a very successful climber. So it's kind of a half-baked idea. I do think there's a little bit of parallel play there. I also wanted to talk to you about the moms falling out, and I felt like it was very dramatic to end a friendship over that, because I could see where both of them were coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kendra, it's easy to feel down on yourself and look at other people's success and be like, that was luck, and not want to attribute it to their skill, because that requires some introspection. They were able to work for this, and I haven't been able to do that. What's that say? I think also Alexandra could have given her a little bit of grace and realized jealousy is human nature. What were your thoughts on that entire falling out?
But when it comes to jealousy, it's actually really sad, because obviously part of Alexandra's, Dan's, and Kendra's, really sad part of it is they're both down and out in their lives. So the fact that Kendra couldn't recognize Alexandra's at one time success, and Alexandra couldn't recognize that Kendra ultimately was jealous of her and that success, and grow together in that way, is really sad, because they could be support for each other, but instead they're standing on either side of the room. It's bitter.
To me, it was like a very sad reason to end a friendship, with just neither of them seeing each other's perspective. And more so, like, I'm critical of Alexandra not seeing Kendra's perspective, because she's like asking the glory of everything she's accomplished. And I feel like she could put herself in her own shoes just a few years ago when she was in Kendra's spot and like dying for an opportunity like this. And some of it, I feel like every person's success, there's an element of luck. You can work as hard as you want to work and never have the success. You can be as talented as anything and never have the success. It's like 2% luck. And I stand by that. People I know might disagree. But every successful person, there's also knowing the right person or being in the right place at the right time, deal with it. I just feel like Alexandra could have extended some grace to Kendra. I don't think Kendra was being malicious.
So, an unfortunate situation all around.
Just very sad, especially they were described as like inseparable, like bestie girls, and just to end it all over that. There's nothing you could say to me that would end our friendship without me trying to like better context or understanding. I could see the most diabolical thing, but we've got this foundation of friendship that you couldn't have possibly meant it the way it came out. Like, anything you said, I think, okay, let's unpack that, because this is how I'm taking it. And I feel like all they needed was that discussion.
And they didn't want to have it.
They didn't want to have it. It just makes me sad. So throw away such a good friendship.
Mm-hmm. I do feel like a lot of people do that, though. A lot of people are so avoidant that they don't want to have any conflict, and then ultimately would rather let a relationship fade than have a discussion.
To be honest, I'm fairly avoidant. Like, I would definitely phrase it. I would approach it with kid gloves, because I can't take anything aggressively. Like, you could be, this is so weird to think about, because you never, but like, say like just the nastiest thing. I took it this way. I know you obviously didn't mean it that way, but just tell me what you meant. Sad, for sure.
I really did find Alexandra's storyline so sad, though, being bedridden and ill. I can't imagine being at that point in your life when you have luckily experienced success. You know what it feels like. You know what you felt like when you were happy, and to be at the lowest point of your life, unable to grab more success, and really just hanging on by a thread.
Such fall from grace for her, really to no fault of her own. Like, I know Dan has some blame, like that you've just written another book, like couldn't you have sailed that ship? But it's like, if you're not in the place to do that, it seems like the most daunting task ever. And it's just sad, because I'm sure that's what she wanted. And we find out too in the story that she never wanted to have kids either. So I feel like there's like a little bit of resentment from her towards her son. And again, Kendra's the villain, but there's also some villainhood in Alexandra as well. Because whether you wanted a kid or not, now you have one. You owe them. I feel like he was just treated like he wasn't wanted by her. And
I think
he felt that. Lawrence, I think he was a pretty good dad, but he needed Alexandra to help a little bit as well. Alexandra's sickness, that part, I had a lot of mixed feelings. So we find out that she didn't want to ever have that open heart surgery again, because it's such a traumatic thing. And then it was at Thanksgiving, I believe, that she's down, passed out on the floor, incapacitated. And then Lawrence was at the surgery, so she didn't have a say in it. And I get it from Lawrence's perspective, but also I hated it. But also I probably would make the same decision. But like Alexandra's perspective, like she didn't want to have it. Now she's like dealing with this very dramatic healing process. And just, do you think you would have made the decision for like knowing? So we'll reverse this. Your husband's wishes to not have it done, but he's not there or conscious to make the say. He said no.
You keep throwing really emotional scenarios at me. I feel like I probably would have. I don't know, because I feel like I take someone's wishes when it comes to that sort of thing really seriously. But then again, I probably would have done what Lawrence did.
It's hard because I'm mad at him at the time. And I saw my dad heal from that surgery, and it is gruesome.
The same one.
I think he had a bypass, so the actual surgery is different, but like the way they open them and the sternoscopy, where they cut through the sternum.
I'm okay with that, with the visuals.
So it's very gruesome and like very long, drawn out healing process. He had that surgery done. It was like in January, end of January, and it wasn't until like the following fall that he seemed back to his regular self. And he just had to be so babied for so many months. Like even he couldn't steer a car because he didn't have that mobility. And when he's like sitting, they have to hold a pillow. They have to hold a pillow basically at all times to make sure they don't make any like weird movements or something. He's just like groaning in pain for a month after it. Yeah. And it's like, that experience made me think, if I'm past the age of 60 and something like that happens to me, like, if I'm still in my 40s or 50s.
And that's another thing. Alexandra was pretty young. So that's another part of it. And she was dealing with depression. Now that I'm thinking this through, I think I would do what Lawrence did. Because she was dealing with mental illness of depression. She's not, the fact that she's not wanting to go through it is also has a cloud of, because she doesn't want to be here.
It's very multifaceted and hard. It's like you've got like the person's medical wishes. Did they make them with a straight mind?
Right. Exactly. Do you want to talk about Dan's accident?
So while Alexandra is healing, Dan decides he has something to prove and wants to climb. Let me see, it was Figures on a Landscape. So that's a nicer name than Finger Bang Princess. It's a very difficult one. Tamma suffered a hand injury when she was at the climbing competition. And like she knows she's not equipped to do it, but she's going to be there to spot Dan. And she had found a duffel of discarded climbing gear earlier in the story. And so they were using a rope. And when he's at the crux of the climb, that rope snaps and he goes just free falling basically onto Tamma and suffers a catastrophic injuries. His shin breaks through his skin and horrifying. And he's basically going in and out of consciousness. And Tamma has to walk him back over a mile to the car, which in my head, I'm like, I couldn't have done that. And I'm a foot taller than Tamma. I feel like I should be able to, but I'm trying to think. Because she also got injured. So it's not him just was injured. Right. She got landed on. I thought when I was reading that, I was like, oh, this is how Dan dies. This is a story about like overcoming the grief of losing your soul person. I thought that was how I was going to pivot. I was surprised he survived.
I was very surprised that he survived as well.
I was like, in the kitchen talking to Garrett, and I was like, I stopped reading, so this kid's going to die in the book, and I really just don't want to deal with that right now, so I need to finish tomorrow. And the next day, we're going to die. So that's like a pleasant surprise.
What's that for you? Yeah. Oh, gosh. Have you ever had a near-death experience?
No. I feel like the closest I ever had was in Georgia as a kid. We were tubing, and we got knocked off the tube, my brother and I. There was a speedboat that got really close, and my dad and his buddy, they were like, screaming at them. I don't think they were going to hit us, but they did get scarily close. I think they saw us at the last minute. I didn't experience it as a near-death experience, though, but I think my dad, seeing it, experienced it as, oh, my kids are about to die. So I think it was more traumatic for him. Because like, for me, wait, why is my dad so mad right now?
Gosh.
Yeah. My brother, I actually witnessed having what I thought was a near-death experience. It was 4th grade, and he was in 7th, and we were riding snowmobiles. And he flipped his and it landed on him. We were pretty close to my house. So my dad was in the garage waiting for us to come back. The snowmobiles were old. They were used. So when he flipped his, I got off mine and it turns off and I wasn't strong enough to do that. So I had to run all the way back to my dad, thinking my brother was lying there dead. So my dad's running back. And then when I was chasing after him, fast. Like he was hurt, but fine.
Oh gosh. Snowmobiles and 4-wheelers. I don't think kids should be on those.
Yes, I loved them. I thought it was so fun as a kid. We snowmobiled all winter. And
so many horror stories, even those mini little 4-wheelers. No.
My kids will not touch any of those.
There's just too much that could go wrong. There's a reason why you can't drive until you're 16.
No, it's scary. That's, I think, probably the scariest moment of my life. Because I genuinely thought, oh, I just saw him die. But no, I myself haven't had anything near death. Have you?
I have not really.
Good.
But there was one car crash that I was in on my way to school in middle school. And it was one of those times where I felt like everything was in slow motion and I was like, stop. And because I knew the car was coming. But we did get hit, but I was alive and I was fine. But no, aside from that.
Good. One thing I was thinking about when I wrote that question, I was like, I've told you when Tracy and I were in San Francisco, right? And the cab driver, we were basically held hostage by a cab driver who offered us a free ride and then changed his mind. And that was a little scary. And as soon as we got in the car, he said, I'm from Fiji. Fijian men are very nice. I wouldn't hurt you.
Foreshadowing?
Yeah. That was like his greeting to us. We had to hitchhike because we went across the bridge to the Muir Woods and we're up on the hill and neither of us had service. So we were walking down the road and then hitchhiking. Well, first we tried to get a ride with these guys and then you're going to have to sit on our laps. And I was like, well, how about you sit on his lap and she sits on my lap? And they're like, no, you have to sit on our laps. We're like, okay, no, we're not doing that. So then
thank goodness.
So then we find this Fijian man. And then he's like, I'll take you over the bridge and then I'm going to drop you off. I'm not taking you any further than the bridge. We're like, great. We get over the bridge and he's like, I'll take you back to your Airbnb. No, it's fine. You said you just were going to take us here. And then we got to the Airbnb and he's like demanding money. He's like, to Tracy, he's like, go up and get the money. She stays here because we didn't have any cash on us. And in my head, I'm like, maybe that was a near-death situation. In retrospect, it turned out I got out of the car and kept the door open. And I was like, I'm not staying in the car. I'll stay right here. But that could have been.
I can't decide if I would rather be the person who'll get the money or the person to stay with.
He decided. So he pointed. He's like, you go get the money and she stays here.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad that you made it out alive.
The big debate Dan was having throughout the story was like, do I go with Tamma and pursue this rugged dream of climbing and just scumbag foraging for food and money, but climbing every day? Or do I go to college? He's very gifted and he ends up getting a full ride to a good school. And the accident sealed his fate. He can no longer do the climbing thing. And I found that a convenient plot point. The accident devastating, horrible, but that was a big debate the entire story. And then it ended up, he didn't have to choose. It was chosen for him. I don't always love the convenient plot points like that. Because I was curious, what's he going to do? And I just wonder what his decision would have actually been. I think it would have been college.
I think so too. And I think that Tamma would have taken that conversation very hardly if they had a conversation.
So I feel like this situation is the only way they could have preserved their friendship and him still college route.
Exactly. It is unfortunate though when it's kind of similar to what happened with their moms, but when one part of a friendship experiences an opportunity or whatnot, and due to the other person's situation, that being the end of the relationship because they can't accept what's happening for the other person.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. So I am curious to see how their friendship plays out after this, now that it's a long distance friendship. There's a quote in the story, Lauren's talking to Dan, and he says, when you're my age, Tamma will just be a girl you knew a long time ago. And that made me sad. It also hit hard because I've got so many friendships from high school where I loved that friendship so much. And now I like their pictures on Instagram. I haven't talked to them in 12 years. It is kind of sad the way that some friendships just fizzle out, and that's the way it goes. And I also get sad. I've got cousins in high school, and seeing them with their best girly friends, and I wonder which of these friendships are going to make it. I get nostalgic for my childhood friendships a lot, even though it's they're such different people now, and I know it would be different. Made me sad reading that quote from his dad. So at the end, Tamma does her coin flip. Does she stay and help support Sierra and take care of the kids, or does she go in the woods? Or not in the woods, in the mountains? We don't get a resolution. We don't find out which one she chooses. What way do you think she went?
I don't know.
I think she stayed. I think so. I think when it comes down to it, not that she wasn't ready, but she wasn't as committed to only that. I think her commitment to her sister and her nephews and niece outweighs it. Mm-hmm. That's just my theory.
Her yearning for more. Yep.
And I think putting myself in her shoes, the mountains are always going to be there, but right now, in real time, in this moment, my sister still needs help.
The mountains may always be there, but her body won't be able to.
She is young.
Yeah.
So wait till River gets into kindergarten. Go to the mountains. Yeah.
It is sad though, because that time frame, your late teens and your early 20s, is when you are supposed to be selfish.
Mm-hmm.
When you're supposed to do things with only yourself in mind. So I do think you're right that she, based on what we read about her, I think she would have stayed. But I would hope for her that she would go.
Same. And I also think maybe it wouldn't be all it was cracked up to be in her eyes if she did go. Yeah. Especially without Dan. I think a lot of her love climbing was a love for climbing with Dan. It would just be very different doing it solo.
Absolutely.
Overall, what did you rate the book?
Again, this is nothing against the author at all. I think we've spent enough time talking about his writing and how he's very talented. But this was a 2 for me, just due to the fact that I really didn't resonate with the book. And again, it might be a timing thing for me. I just wasn't in it at all.
I gave 2.5. It's like technically a good book, just not a good book for me. I think if you're in the climbing world, you have a better understanding and you love very in-depth descriptions of climbing, you might eat it up. It just took me out of it too much. I would find myself immersed in the plot, and then all of a sudden, I am no longer immersed. So
a lot of skimming on my end, unfortunately.
Would you like to do the fan cast?
Yes, definitely. Do you want to start with Tamma?
Yes. So I did Lachlan Watson for Tamma. Purely just based on vibes and looks. I've got screenshots. I should have put them in the document like you did. They are a non-binary actor, and just I felt like had a very cool Tamma look.
Oh my gosh, that's a great choice.
So don't actually quite remember what they were. Oh, known for playing Theo Putnam on the Netflix original series Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which I haven't seen.
I've never seen that either. I really like that pick. Great job. My pick for Tamma was an actress named Kaylee Spaney. She was in the movie Civil War and Priscilla. Purely vibes.
Purely vibes. Love
and I pictured her with her hair dyed and kind of grunged up, but
I feel like she's got a great face to go grunge.
That's what I was thinking.
Dan, I have Oaks Fegley, which again, just based on looks. So he starred in Pete's Dragon, Wonderstruck, The Goldfinch, The War with Grandpa, a bunch of things I haven't seen. And he actually looks quite a bit like your pick.
Oh,
like,
he does.
Putting them side by side, they could be brothers.
My pick is Toby Wallace, and he was in something called Baby Teeth. But I definitely give the same vibe. Funny.
I feel like we're so aligned there. For Paisley, I did McKenna Grace, which I actually don't... I see so many people talk about her on TikTok. I don't quite know anything about her except that she's how I envisioned Paisley to be.
Oh.
So I don't know if we got a physical description of Paisley. I was looking for that and then couldn't find it, so I gave up.
I couldn't find a physical description, but I went with the confident vibe. So I went with Chase Infinity. She was in One Battle After Another. She's up and coming actress, and she just has that air about her that she is a good person, but has a strong confidence. So.
Love it. Sierra, I did Bella Thorne.
Nice. Oh, I can totally see that. I did Emmy Rossum.
Love her.
And I know she's a little bit older than probably what the character is written as, but I feel like it could be aged down with the right makeup and hair.
For sure. I had to play around with age for my Kendra and Alexandra picks.
I just go off vibes, so sometimes the ages aren't correct.
Yeah. I got you.
What'd you do for Kendra?
Kendra, I did Leighton Meester.
Ooh.
Mostly just because I'd love to see her play an opposite to her Blair character. That would just be very fun. I love Leighton Meester. And I want to see her just like deadbeat mom vibes.
Make them good girls. That always comes to mind. Yeah. I love her too. I did Dale Dickey, and I'm really not familiar with this actress. I was just searching up.
Visually, she's perfect.
I thought she really looks like the perfect select for her. And then Alexandra.
I had Sarah Paulson.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Again, she might be a little old, especially given that she's supposed to be besties with Leighton Meester, but that's okay.
I did Rose Byrne, and in the picture she looks very gorgeous, but I think she can get the part of being...
Oh, for sure.
And whatnot. But a previously successful author, I thought she would be really good. That was a good fan cast. I feel like we both hit the mark on those.
I agree. And I feel like that's one thing with like Gabriel Tallent. Like,
yes.
Kind of made it easy to get your mind's eye around the characters, I think.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah. So great for him. I think a lot of people are enjoying the book. Not every book that we pick is going to be perfect for us, but this was another Book of the Month Club books. So we do get them at a discount with our subscription. So that's...
Sometimes it's fun to read books that just aren't perfect.
Because who knows, maybe reading this book would spark an interest in climbing and we'd be climbing mountains this summer.
I was actually searching climbing gyms near us because I did used to, when I was in college at University of Illinois, I loved going rock climbing.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. It's really fun.
If we ever were wanting to do it, there is a really cool outdoor rock climbing wall in Millennium Park in Chicago.
Oh.
We walked past it last summer and it looks really fun.
When I was in New York, with one of my friends, I tried to get into bouldering, but I just didn't have the strength. An embarrassing amount of lack of strength where I couldn't do the very beginner things. Rock climbing's a little easier, but there were a lot of that. Just made me think of it because there are a lot of outdoor bouldering walls in New York.
Well,
at least we tried. Just because it wasn't for us, maybe it'll still be for you. If you did love the book, we would love to hear about that too, because I do like seeing those perspectives.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.
So much for listening to Facts and Fictions. We really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're new here, let us tell you a little bit about what we do. We publish new episodes every Sunday, and we've got 3 kinds of episodes to keep things interesting. First up, we have our book discussions, where we do a deep dive into one specific book. So if you really love digging into a read, those are for you. Then there are our brief encounters, where we tackle short form writing. Think magazine articles, Substack essays, things like that. Usually centered around a theme or topic we've been thinking about. Finally, we've got Overdue for a Chat. These are our most laid-back episodes. No reading required, we just hang out and talk about all things books. New releases, book-to-movie adaptation news, what's on our TBR, all of it. So whatever kind of reader you are, there's something here for you. Make sure you hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss a thing. We will see you next Sunday. Until then, happy reading.